Hey guys, it's Eyebrow from StyleAssisted, and today I'm going to do a chatty get ready with me video. Before I run a few errands, I want to do just sort of what I do mostly every single day for my summer makeup. So if you want to see what it takes to get this look, stick around. Alright guys, so my face has been prepped and ready. I washed my face and I put on the fresh Umbika or whatever. There's a fresh oil controlling toner and lotion that I put on, and then I applied the Smashbox Pore Minimizing Primer all over my face. I don't have anything on. I got my lash extensions this week, so that's still on. But I'm going to go in with my Tarte Amazonian Clay Full Coverage Foundation, which I love, and a damp beauty blender or a damp sponge. This one is super dirty. Don't judge me. I haven't washed it in like a few days. So I will put about that much on the back of my hand just so that I can make sure that I'm distributing it evenly, and then just taking, I have clean hands by the way, never touch your face with dirty hands, and I just dot all over my face to deliver all of the foundation evenly. Look like a tribal person. Super attractive. Okay, so once that's on there, you just blend the heck out of it. Having a damp beauty blender or beauty sponge really matters because it opens up the sponge and makes it softer, and so it gives you a more skin-like result. So it mimics sort of the look of skin, opposed to if you just use a regular compressed dry sponge, it doesn't blend out as well. And I always tell people to get the beauty blender or your sponge soaked, like absolutely soaked, and then squeeze it out, and then soak it again and squeeze it out, because it should grow at least twice as big as it was before. And blending is the most boring part, but the most necessary part to having good looking foundation. I mean, you blend and blend and blend. It also helps distribute the product, but it also helps pick up a little bit if you have too much, because you can always add more, but kind of hard to take it away without a beauty blender or a sponge. So I just blend and blend and blend, and always make sure you blend down. I only have to blend down to right below my neck because I absolutely hate lines, and so most of my cover of my actual makeup is fairly close to my skin tone so that I don't have to blend all the way down, because you guys know I hate that. I complain about it all the time. I think it's stupid. Okay, now that I'm sufficiently blended, I'm going to take my NARS Creamy Concealer in the shade Chantilly. Oh, and this Tarte was in the shade, I believe it's Fair Beige. Yes, Chantilly. And I take it and I draw a straight line down and then do sunburst pattern. If you guys watched my highlight and contour video, you'll know this is how I always apply my under eye concealer. And I make sure I get a fair amount because I'm going to take that same beauty blender or sponge and use it to even everything out. Now I do on the top of my nose, I do around my nose because I always have redness, I do a little bit here, and then I will do a little bit on the corners of my mouth because for some reason those are always a little red, and you can do it in the middle of that if you want to. Now some people say that you should let your concealer sit a while before you start blending it. I don't have time today, so I'm not going to. But you are more than welcome to let it sit for a few minutes and sort of dry out a little bit. I've noticed that it helps it stay unless you want to bake your makeup. That's a really good way to get your concealer to stay put. If it's a little too creamy or a little too runny, let it sit there for a while before you blend it. And blending, obviously the most boring thing ever. Sorry. Wish it was more amusing. It's not. I always make sure to get up in right there, my inner tear duct area, because that part for me always looks a little red, and so I make sure that I cover it well and really push the concealer into my skin. And that's kind of what you're doing with blending, is you're actually pushing the concealer into your skin opposed to just dragging it around kind of like you do with a brush or your fingers. Yes, it does pick up product, And that can be a good or a bad thing depending upon what you want. Okay. Foundation, done. Concealer, done. Now I'm going to take from my Z palette, this is the MAC Pro Emphasize. It is a very light, it's F45. You can get this on MAC.com. It's very, very light setting powder. I use the Laura Mercier translucent setting powder for all of my face, but this has a little bit of glow to it. So, and it's the palest powder I own, so I always use this to set my under eyes because it really stays well. And once again, try to push that powder into your concealer so that it doesn't move. But I make sure I get it really good underneath my eyes because it really kind of highlights that area. Because I have terrible dark circles, as you guys know. I get a lot of sleep, I drink a lot of water, but that's just sort of, it's a hereditary thing. There's nothing I can do about it. And I basically am going over the areas that I just put that concealer because obviously I want those areas a little bit highlighted. So this is the best way to do it. You're basically just setting your powder and you're not making it super shiny or bright with like an actual highlighter, but this works really, really well to lock in all of your makeup and make sure that it does not go anywhere. And I like it has a little bit, if you can see, a little bit of shimmer, tiny, tiny, tiny bit. Like not even really noticeable, it's just like a little bit of glow. Okay, so we have that done. Put that back in my Z palette. And then I'm going to use the Laura Mercier translucent powder. This or the e.l.f. translucent powder are my two favorites. The e.l.f. is upstairs. I'm obviously in my beauty room, so I'm using the Laura Mercier powder. So I put a little bit into the lid, grab a gigantic fluffy brush, kind of swirl and tap, dust off the excess, and then just go all over my face where I didn't hit with that MAC Pro Emphasize. This is not a step everyone has to do, but because I have oily skin, setting my foundation, especially in the summertime, super, super important. That means that now anything I put on it, it keeps it from fading, creasing, anything like that. It's fantastic. I highly suggest using a translucent setting powder if you don't already and you have oily skin. Alright, next I usually do my eyebrows. You guys know I rotate between my NYX eye crayon and my Hourglass. I'm downstairs, so I have my Hourglass. So I'm just going to lightly do my brows. If you guys follow my Snapchat, which is @AdrielPage, you'll see that I actually just got my brows done. I was letting them grow out so that my wonderful brow woman, I call her the Empress of Brows because she's amazing. I needed her to sort of reshape them because they were looking a little crazy. Sometimes you just have to let them grow out so that they can reshape them. I know. And it's super scary and I look like a hot mess in between. It was hilarious. And she cracked up and she does all of my, normally she'll wax, but with my skin, because I use retinoids, it will pull off the skin from waxing. You have to use a really, really simple wax. And then she ends up having to hand pluck anyway, so she just hand plucks every single one of the 60 million baby hairs I have right here. She's amazing. Empress of Brows. It's not a real name, but she knows I call her that. She is one of my favorite people on the planet, and I adore her, and she's fantastic. Okay, brows done. Next, I'm going to use my all-time favorite, 100% favorite, contouring, bronzing, whatever. This is the Tarte Park Avenue Princess. It's the Amazonian clay, blah, 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 blah. Love it, and I use it for everything. This is an e.l.f. brush. All of my brushes thus far have been e.l.f., by the way. And I get a fair amount, just tap it on there, tap it off, and then I start on the forehead and just lightly kind of dab it on to get it off the brush initially, and then I blend. So I do the outside of my face, basically, and then on my cheekbones, because you need it to blend and you need it to look natural, and the sun obviously naturally hits you on the top of your face. And since I highlighted around here, I need to contour around the outside. So I always make sure my forehead gets a fair amount of color, and then I go back in and make sure there's enough on my brush, and I go in and I kind of cut in my contour under my cheeks. And I like this brush because it's flat. I can get this part right there and just add a little bit and then blend up from there, which makes life a lot easier. And if it wasn't summertime, I would probably be using either my NYX blush in the shade Taupe or the Benefit Dallas blush, because those both have a little bit more of a mauve undertone, which works extremely well for pale skin. I currently have on a little bit of self-tanner, so bronzing makes more sense for me. So I'm using this. Now for this, I will also do underneath my chin and then along my jawline below it, because as I always tell you guys, when you're super fair, you sort of look like this in pictures, like it's all one color, because there's not really a lot of definition because you're not dark. So I always make sure to add a little definition where that shadow would be and sort of blend down so that it makes your face actually stand out and doesn't make you look like you have A, a double chin, or B, like no neck. So I always do that. Some people put a little bit on their chin to make their chin pointier. I don't know. You can always take a tiny little brush and highlight, if you want to, sides of your nose. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. But I figured since I'm on camera with you guys, I will just show you. I mean, nothing super complicated. And then blend it. And you don't want to do a ton on your nose. Ideally, you want to do a little bit on either side and then put a highlight down the middle, because if you do too much of dark on either side of your nose, you look like a zebra, and it's not, nobody wants that look. Okay, so bronzer is done. Making sure I'm even on both sides. But as you guys can tell, that Pro Emphasize, see that glow right there? It's not super noticeable, but it's just, okay, sorry, my thing just died. Alright, on to, let's do a little blush. This is the Tarte, I love Tarte. This is the Tarte Amazonian Clay Blush 12 Hour in the color Glisten. Looks like this. It has the gold undertone, very similar to that NARS blush that has the name that I would never say in front of my parents. There are a lot of blushes like that. This one I just do sort of, not on the apples of my cheeks, but right behind. Because since I sort of highlighted the middle of my face, I don't want the rest of my face to, I don't want huge, gigantic red cheeks in the middle of that. So just sweep another e.l.f. brush. This is the e.l.f. blush brush. I'm obsessed with their brushes. They are fantastic. As always, my normal disclaimer, you guys know I'm part of the e.l.f. Beauty Squad. They send me stuff for free, but if I don't like it, I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to tell you guys about it. So not a ton, just enough to kind of accent the cheekbones. If you feel like you ever got too much, you can just take your original powder brush and just sort of blend. There's nothing wrong with blending. You cannot overblend. Blending is awesome. It makes everything look a little more seamless. I highly suggest blending. And with that translucent powder, it just looks better. Okay, now, because I have eyelashes on, I'm not going to do any mascara, and I'm not going to do any eyeliner. So I'm going to take this Morphe palette. This is it's actually the Jaclyn Hill's favorite palette. It's the one that she created a year or two ago, but it's beautiful. It's absolutely stunning. And I'm going to go for a very neutral, natural eye. So I'm going up right here, and I get some of this. I don't know what color it is. I'm really sorry, guys. They don't label things. I wish that they did, but they don't. Which is never helpful, because I know you guys want... This is basically a slightly pearlized, very, very light pink white. And that's going to go all over my lids. I always make sure that I start with a base shade that's really light, even if it's almost the exact same color as my skin tone, because it helps your other colors blend better, and it creates a seamless look opposed to when you just go in with the one color you want to use. If you think about if there's one color you want to use, unless it's like a one-pot thing, I start with a light color and then I build 2 shades underneath it. That way it blends better. Just trust me. Years of doing this has taught me that's what you have to do. Now, I'm going to go in with this shade right here that is a slightly darker pink, like a peachy pink. I'm just going to do crease on both sides. Oh, camera battery's dying. Of course. Then I'm going to go in with this shade right here. A little bit darker. Same exact thing. Crease windshield wiper motions. And then I take a tiny little baby brush, dip it in the last color, sometimes I'll combine it with a little brown, and go underneath my eyes to add a little definition. And I'll add some lip balm and I'm done. That's it, guys. I hope this helped you. If you have any questions or any products you want me to try, leave them in the comments below. As always, subscribe if you aren't already and give this video a thumbs up. Thanks, guys. I love you. I'll see you in my next video. Bye. The reason this video was later than I wanted it to be was because I was waiting for these to arrive. This is the L'Oreal Pro. We have the Pro Glow and the Pro Matte. And these are the infallible whatever. Anyway, these are the it foundation right now amongst all bloggers, and I've heard so much about them, but they're sold out everywhere. So I ordered them from Ulta. Ulta messed up my order. Ulta was late. I ordered it like 2.5 weeks ago. Just these two little suckers. Took forever for me to get. So feel terrible.